Transgender.
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 The term transgender has become increasingly more popular in today's society than ever before. More awareness is being spread through marches, sit-ins, and even talk shows. But before exploring the rights of transgender Americans, let's define what being transgender is and what it is not. Transgender. Adjective. Denoting or relating to a person whose sense of personal identity and gender does not correspond with their birth sex. Simply put, a person born with a penis who no longer identifies as a man, or a person born with a vagina who no longer identifies as a woman. Transgender does not mean someone is homosexual. Homosexuality is the attraction to one's own sex. Now that there's a clear understanding of what it means to be transgender, let's explore the culture and the rights of transgender people. Celebrities have been a main influential piece in informing the public of what it means to be transgender. Laverne Cox, the actress that plays Sophia Bursette in Orange is the New Black, was one of the first recognizable celebrity advocates for transgender awareness in 2013.
Doc, I need my dosage. I've given 5 years, $80,000 and my freedom for this. I'm finally who I'm supposed to be. Do you understand? I can't go back.
A more recent celebrity is Caitlyn Jenner, previously known as the stepfather to the Kardashians, started her own television show to present her journey through discovering herself as a transgender woman.
People don't understand looking into the mirror and nothing seems right. We're going to do some good.
The Wachowski sisters, previously known as the Wachowski brothers, are less popular by name and more recognizable by most by the movies they wrote, such as The Matrix. Lastly, Chaz Bono, three-time author and popular contestant on Dancing with the Stars, has made an appearance as a character named Lot Polk in American Horror Story. Seeing all the success and popularity these folks have received may lead someone to the conclusion that transgender people are just as well off in society as someone who is not. But this is simply not the case. To understand this, we must look at another struggle for rights in the US, the Civil Rights Movement. The Civil Rights Movement of the 1950s and 60s was a series of events leading to the equality of African Americans, Latinos, and people alike. People of color faced many oppressive issues, mainly Jim Crow, a set of laws prohibiting people of color to enter white restrooms, the contribution to certain divisions in the military, and overriding the right to fair protection by the law, most commonly allowing lynch mobs to form. Similarly, transgender people are barred from using certain restrooms, participating in war efforts, and are less likely to receive fair protection by the law. To truly get a real perspective on how transgender people are treated, we must consult a transgender person. I spoke with Van Hart, a transgender man, on the phone. There were some connection issues between Van and I. Any strange cuts in his voice were from removing muted audio when our connection was weak. The intent was not for altering Van's speech or intent. One more thing. You'll also be hearing Van say the word cis or cisgender a lot, and that just means somebody who is not transgender. Do you believe that transgender people do or do not have basic civil rights?
We have civil rights, but our freedom of speech is constantly infringed on, like in spaces that aren't necessarily LGBT inclusive. We're told that our topics are too sexual by talking about our gender.
What is your opinion on the protection of transgender people compared to someone who is not transgender?
Well, we don't have any. In Indiana, I don't think gender identity is a protected class, so unless like your employer has a specific policy set out, they can legally fire you because you're trans. Indiana is a right to hire, right to fire state.
Mhm.
If they hire you and they don't know if they find out, they can easily fire you and not they don't actually have to give a reason for firing you.
How are transgender people different from those who are not transgender?
Well, we're trans. Really much of a difference. I mean, you could see a trans person on the street and you're not gonna know. And nothing they say, unless they start talking about issues, is really gonna tip you off. Different.
Do you think transgender people have a harder time searching for jobs?
I definitely do. Especially trans women, because a trans guy have privilege that I don't think a lot of people talk about. We can be seen as just tomboys. It's normal for cis women to be kind of boyish in our society, but if like a cis boy is kind of girly, then everyone's like, no, you be at all like that. Like, and so a lot of trans guys, they're to be out, they can do without saying, oh look, I'm, but be seen as like a tomboyish girl, whereas trans women, like, they're out and they're present feminine, they're gonna be immediately pegged by application versus what the person sees. So there's definitely a bias, but difficult in general. All of our legal information sometimes doesn't match up with what somebody sees in front of them at an interview, and so they won't hire us.
I believe certain aspects of the struggle for transgender rights are comparable to some of the struggles for African American rights.
I personally don't like to compare struggles like that, just because it's not really fair to anybody. But I mean, there's some parallels between the things that we've seen with recent bathroom bills. We've been barred from going into a bath. It's a public space, a lot like civil rights era, like being barred from going into bathrooms. They were barred from looking at water fountains, which seems like something that I could easily see conservatives doing, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's as bad or as hard. They're two different issues.
Additionally, I was able to contact a transgender woman, Bella Nara, but I was unable to speak with her in person or over the phone. Her responses to my questions were sent by document, and a few will be presented to share Bella's views. My opinion on protection is that it's not perfect at all. When it comes to harassment, many transgender individuals are terrified of reporting it to police due to fear of re-victimization. When I personally was assaulted, I didn't report it because I knew that police in the area weren't very friendly to most people in the LGBT community. Trans people are just ordinary people living their life. I don't think it's right to compare the struggles of one community over another. Both communities see discrimination, both see harassment, assault, and even murder. Struggles communities face are all awful, and no one should be discriminated because of who they are. They don't need to be compared. They need to be acknowledged, faced, and hopefully resolved. As you can see, transgender people face similar issues people of color did during the civil rights era. Even if comparing the two events may seem like a competition of who suffered more inequalities, the civil rights era gives us insight of what possibilities there are for any group that is oppressed in the United States. To combat that possibility, people must make it their duty to treat everyone with kindness and respect, whether they're a person of color, transgender, gay, or the multitude of other groups that face oppression today.